You know, our keynote speaker doesn't really need an introduction, as I'm sure many of you wake up listening to her on the radio every morning, like I do. I do too. But the Supergirl Within Conference's keynote speaker is Nira Arora. Nira is a proud island girl who grew up in Nanaimo and moved to Vancouver to attend SFU and BCIT. And prior to joining 94.5 Virgin Radio, Nira was a television host, a reporter, a writer, and producer of many different television shows and local magazines. She now has over 20 years of experience in the media industry, so please give it up for Nira Arora from 94.5 Virgin Radio.
Hi, girls. How are you guys doing today? I like that. That hey was awesome. Hey. So as Sukhi just mentioned, my name is Nira, last name Arora, from 94.5 Virgin Radio. And I just received an email from 94.5 Virgin Radio because I received my 15-year PIN, which means I've been with them for 15 years. Yeah. That was an interesting moment because all of a sudden I was like, 15 years? That's how long I've been with you guys, 15 years. There's lots of celebrations also that are going inside my mind of 15 years of working at the station. I hope you guys have had a chance to listen to 94.5 once in a while, here or there. You guys know the station? Yeah? At least you know it, right? Okay. Well, I, first of all, want to let you know I'm pregnant. That's why I've got this little pop belly going on here. And this is baby number 3, okay? Number 3. So I'm a little bit busy right now. I've got 2 little boys running around at home. My son Shay just turned 6. I have another younger one. His name is Avi, and he's 3. And I just found out what this one is. How many think it's a girl? Yeah? Oh, lots of girls, okay. Maybe it's a super girl. How many think it's a boy? Yeah, okay, we got a few boys in the mix. Yeah, I know what it is, and we will be revealing it next week on our show, what it is, so I can't give you too many hints tonight, or today I should say. It's kind of tonight for me, because I've been up since 3 o'clock this morning. I went to work, I did the show, and right after the show was done, I hustled my way to make it here for you guys today. So, yes, thank you. I really wanted to make my way here today. I haven't been doing as many extracurricular things outside of my job right now because I have a pretty demanding household. I've got my husband, I've got a dog who's also a boy, and I've got my 2 little boys at home, and I'm pregnant. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm feeling a little depleted these days, but I really believed in the cause of this event, and I wanted to be here to hopefully even inspire maybe one of you. If one of you feels slightly inspired, then I feel somehow retributed. I feel like, okay, I was able to make a difference. So please, at least one of you feel inspired by what I have to say today, okay? Can you make me that promise? If everyone makes me the promise, that's great too, I'll take it. Okay, so the Supergirl Within Conference. I would love to start off by telling each and every one of you that you're strong. You are intelligent, and you are amazing. Those are words that I had to tell myself all the time when I was younger. It's not that I didn't have people telling me, it's just that I needed to remind myself of that when I was younger because life was hard, but I always chose to work harder. Life can be hard in so many different ways for all different types of reasons, for all different types of people. For me, I had immigrant parents who came from India. They came from nothing. They always reminded me, my dad's like, I had $10 in my pocket. I had absolutely nothing. There was 18 of us that lived in an apartment. We shared one blanket. I hear his stories all the time. But what was fascinating for me was from nothing, they were able to make something, which is a very inspirational story. But where my hardship began was my parents felt this duty, massive duty, like priority to make sure that anything that they made, anything that they did here, they wanted to send back home to help their families back home in India. So my brother and I felt slightly neglected, maybe here or there. We felt like we weren't the priority in the family. Now, it's not that they didn't love us, it's just I think there's certain needs and desires that children have, and now I'm trying to provide that for my kids. I'm letting my kids know that they're number one no matter what. And I feel that, sometimes that can be lacking in families. I felt it was lacking in mine, but I used that to push me further in different ways. So my parents loved us, don't get it wrong. Right? They definitely loved it, my brother and I, but they had other focuses. But I was very lucky to see my mom work. My mom was a registered nurse at that time, and that's, a pretty big deal back in the day. So watching her as a career woman inspired me to also realize that I can also be a career woman. I can have my dreams and my aspirations of being something, wanting to, reach the sky, or wanting to be a doctor, wanting to be a lawyer. Maybe I'm going to be an astronaut. Doctor and lawyer was the first things that came to my mind because those were the stereotypes that were given to me and my family with my South Asian upbringing. Maybe some of you can relate as well. But watching my mom work at a young age, that was great. She's the one who provided me the sense of reality. Nira, you have to work hard. You have to earn your money. You have to be able to take care of yourself because no one else is going to do it for you. I still remember those words. They were definitely ingrained in my brain. My dad, on the other hand, was a little bit more of the dreamer. He was the one who was like, yeah, you can fly to the stars. Then my mom would be like, yeah, but you can also fall if you don't land on a star. You know what I mean? So I was pretty lucky that I had the balance of the dreamer and the reality person in my life that led me to where I am today. It provided me some balance. I grew up in a small town of Nanaimo. I was a minority, which made me feel sometimes small. I wasn't the girl next door. The girl next door where I grew up was usually blonde hair, blue-eyed, had a name like Tiffany or Kyla or Sandra. So I always used to ask my parents, like, can I change my name? And they're like, why would you want to change your name? Like, my name's Nira, it's so different. It's weird. Like, one day you're gonna like the fact that your name is different. And they were right, my parents were right. I actually got my interview at Virgin Radio because of my name. They thought my name was different. It was not the norm. And that's one of the reasons I got called, because they were like, what is this name? What nationality is she? What background is it? So my parents were right. I was happy at that time, like 25 years later. I used to sometimes want to pretend that I wasn't of South Asian descent, that I wasn't East Indian. So when we were at home, my parents used to make this rule because they were realizing that I, wanted to maybe reject my heritage. So we were only allowed to speak Punjabi at home. So my parents could speak English, but when I was growing up, they used to force us to speak in Punjabi. If we didn't speak in Punjabi, they couldn't hear us, okay? So I'd ask in Punjabi, to my parents, I'd ask in English, can I go to Nadine's house? Nadine was a friend of mine. And they'd be like, sorry, can't hear you. They would say that in Punjabi. And I'd be like, can I go to Nadine's house? And they're like, sorry, can't hear you. And then I would say, in Punjabi, मैं Nadine de घर जा सकती हूँ? They'd be like, yes, good, yes, you can go to Nadine's house. So it was a lot of battles that I had with my parents about rejecting what I was, rejecting my heritage, not wanting to embrace the difference that I felt between me and my friends at school, or me and my friends in the neighborhood, or me and just other people around me. And they constantly battled it back with me and said, one day it'll all work out for you if you could just embrace the things that you find different and make them work for you. So it took a little bit of time for me to figure it out, but I think I was in grade two, where I remember, I was in grade one. A boy in grade 7 walked up to me, and I was coming out of the girls' bathroom. I was so little, he was in grade 7, so he's like 12. And he's like, hey, you're packy, you need to go back to where you came from. And I'm like this 6-year-old girl just staring at this boy who's 12, looking up at him, and I'm like, Paki? I'm like, wouldn't a Paki be from Pakistan? Like, I'm from India. Like, so I answered him so just clearly, just so matter-of-factly, that his friends who were all around him started laughing at him because he was trying to make fun of me, but by me not understanding that he was trying to be racist towards me and trying to educate him in the process, he ended up being the one to get laughed at. But when I was in grade 1 and that happened to me, by grade 2 I had this realization that, wow, people really don't understand cultures and differences and races and heritages. So by the time I got to grade 5, I organized Multiculturalism Week at my elementary school. And I organized that for the whole school so that different races, different ethnicities could have their day to explain where they came from, maybe like the different celebrations that they have with their communities. And that was a really big landmark moment for me. That made me feel empowered. That made me feel like I was able to educate. That made me feel like I was embracing who I was. Does anybody ever feel like they're having a hard time maybe embracing? Does that sometimes become a problem? Or do you feel it's easier now because it is so multicultural? I mean, you guys are pretty lucky when I look around. This is a very wonderfully multicultural group, but maybe different things that you have to embrace. I started something in my school that I didn't mean to start. There's always little essences, little actions of bullying that somehow can occur. I think I was only in grade 2 when I got made fun of because I was nice to everybody. Okay, so that sounds a little bit bizarre in itself. At that time, I don't know if this is the right way to say it or not say it, but we used to have a special needs class. That's what we called it when I was in elementary school. But the special needs kids would somehow come, throughout different parts of our day, come and hang out with us in our classroom too for different activities. Maybe sometimes even gym class. And I still remember his name. There was this boy named Emmanuel. He was part of the special needs class. He came with some of the other kids from the class to join us for gym. I just happened to be the captain. I was named by the teacher. Hey, Nira, you get to be captain today for California kickball. Loved that game when we were growing up. And I chose Emmanuel to be on my team. The other kids that are also on my team were mad at me, were glaring at me. They were then deciding to make fun of me. Like, oh, Nira has a crush on Emmanuel. Oh, do you want to kiss him? And I was like, no, it's just called being nice. It's about being inclusive. It's about filling someone else's bucket. Have you guys ever heard of that? There's that book, Have You Filled a Bucket Today? It's a great book. I read it to my kids. It's meant for little kids, but honestly, as an adult, I read this book, Have You Filled a Bucket? You have to read it. Everybody has an invisible bucket. You're either filling someone's bucket and making them feel good, and when you fill someone's bucket and make them feel good, you'll feel good inside, or you can dip into someone's bucket and then you deplete them and you make them feel horrible, which then kind of makes you feel horrible too. So anyways, I was filling Emmanuel's bucket, but I got made fun of for that. But that didn't stop me. Next time, if we were playing or whatever, or had to choose teams, I still chose Emmanuel, because I'm gonna stand up for Emmanuel. That's not cool. He wants to play California kickball. Who doesn't? Who always wants to be chosen last? It's not fair, it's not fun. So because of that, at my school, they started the Friendship Award. And I was the first recipient of the Friendship Award, to encourage other people at school to just be friendly, to just be nice. Can I give you another example of being nice and what happened to my kid and how my mama bear inside just roared? So, my son at this time, his name's Shay, he was only 4 years old, and we were at bike camp. There's these bike camps called pedal heads, okay? And they teach your kids how to ride a bike or start riding a bike. So we were having a break in between the camp, and we were on the playground. My son is 4, and I was watching him pretty closely because it was the monkey bars. Probably being a helicopter parent, making sure he's not gonna fall. So maybe I was too close, but whatever. He saw a girl, I think, who was maybe 6 or 7 years old. And this is a 4-year-old boy saying to a 6 and 7-year-old girl, hey, he's like, don't I know you? And the girl's like, I don't really know, I'm not sure. He's like, aren't you in the bike camp? And the girl says, yeah, I'm in the bike camp. Like, she's all right, she's being sweet. And he's like, I'm in the bike camp too. So he's trying to talk to her. It's a 4-year-old boy. That takes a lot of courage, but it's funny. The younger you are, the less fear you have, which is pretty amazing. Sometimes you gotta watch the young kids and see they're really good at not having fear. And so he's trying to talk. I'll wait till that's done. So he's trying to talk to this girl who's, 6 or 7 and saying like, oh yeah, like how's camp going? And then her friend says to her, come on, Sarah, let's go. This boy is weird. So I am this woman who's standing there at the playground at the monkey bars, hearing this girl who's 6 or 7 saying to my 4-year-old son, that he's weird because he was being nice. Do you guys agree with that? That's pretty messed up, right? So I told her, and maybe I shouldn't have, but I mean, her parents were pretty far, but I told her, I'm like, being nice to someone is not weird, and if you think that that's weird, then that's really sad. And it made me wonder, and I got a little scared. I'm like, my kids are growing up in a world where being nice to someone, just talking to someone that you don't know is now considered weird. I really hope that that's not the type of world that I'm bringing my children up in, and I'm bringing another child into, because niceness is one of the best qualities. At least I think it is. Being kind to one another is the best quality. Again, I think it is. There's a lot on women just in general about resisting pressures. That was one of the things that I was kind of asked to touch upon, about pressures that us women have. Me in that moment as a mama bear, that was me really resisting going off on this kid and letting my mama bear completely roar. One day, you guys might understand, when you have kids, if you choose to have kids, there's something inside you that just lights on fire when someone's not being kind to your child. Women, we have extra pressures on us, I believe. So many expectations that we have on us that we actually even put on ourselves. A lot of the times, it's us putting it on ourselves. But one thing that I hope you know is that, like how there's sometimes the terms normal, like that's not normal, or be normal. I really believe, after all my years now of just being in the profession or just being amongst people and friends, that there is no normal. Being abnormal is kind of the new normal, if that makes sense. Womanhood, that word gets used quite often. What does womanhood mean to you? What is womanhood? I would say that womanhood is a state of mind, a state of power, and a state of strength. Do you guys feel empowered in this room? You guys feel strong? Yeah, I'm seeing some nods, I'm seeing some yawns. So maybe now is not the right time to ask. Empowering yourself is making a better version of yourself. Empowering yourself is working on making a better version of yourself. That doesn't mean you have to look pretty. It doesn't mean like how you put your makeup on or how you do your hair. I think it's about working on yourself from the inside. There's a, I don't want to say, maybe it is, maybe it's a stereotype. Does everybody know what gossip is? Right? Gossip, okay. There's a little bit of a stereotype when it comes to women and gossip, and that women and gossip goes hand in hand. Do you guys think that's true? Like, women better at gossiping than girls? I'm seeing some yes, and I'm seeing some very sarcastic. No, not at all. Gossip is definitely a part of human nature. For a lot of people, it helps you bond. But the question is, do you really feel good afterwards, after you've gossiped? Does it really make you feel like a better person inside? Usually, the answer, most of the time, is no. Venting is very different. Sometimes you need a friend to vent to, right? You need to let your feelings out, you need to let your emotions out, but gossip is a very different form. Gossip can actually end up being quite hurtful. We actually talked about this on the show even, I think, last week, and there was this study done about gossip and what it kind of does to human nature. And it's that whole theory of misery loves company, right? So you can talk to someone about somebody else, or the negativity, and negativity loves to grow. But honestly, if you're in that situation where you could be gossiping, it's better just to not. Or if someone is gossiping to you, you can't be that person that chooses to say nothing back. I mean, that's okay too, if that's how you really feel. Cool. Have you guys ever heard that quote that says, you can actually say things to people? Is it still working? There's this quote where, when you're talking to someone, they may or may not listen to you, or they may or may not remember what you said, but people will always remember how you make them feel.
Because feelings go a lot further, right? So I can be standing here and telling you guys stats, I could be spilling out all numbers at you and giving you a bunch of information, but how much of that are you really going to remember versus what I might make you feel? If there's a certain emotion that I might be able to ignite in you, or make you rethink something, or make you feel something. So my question to you is, when we're talking about a Supergirl conference like this, and we're talking about the empowerment of women, and we're talking about the inspiration and the courage and the vision that we're providing each other, why are we always our own worst enemy? Guys ask me this all the time. He's like, we're not really even the ones that say that much about women or girls. It's women on women. We're supposed to be at a stage and a place where we're supposed to hopefully be able to support each other and to carry each other, but instead there's something inside that makes you maybe want to bring each other down. If we stopped bringing each other down and started supporting each other and helping each other, it would really change a lot of things. Nobody else can understand what it's like to be a woman or to be a girl except another girl. So it's your chance to embrace each other, embrace yourselves, and make that little bit of a difference. When it comes to myself and where I ended up today, being a South Asian descent and going into the type of industry that I went into, and being a broadcaster, I mean, there's lots of South Asian broadcasters. It's pretty amazing to see all the different ethnicities out there these days when it comes to television and radio and print. But with my job, it's a little bit different. We talk a lot about our personal stories and our personal life. And thank you.
And I remember when I first started on the radio, and I would just talk about things, about me, my family. I would get some very discouraging emails and feedback from listeners, just telling me, an Indian girl shouldn't be talking like that on the radio. And then I thought, wow, well, that's interesting, because if I was a doctor, you wouldn't tell me, hey, an Indian doctor shouldn't be doing that. Or if I was a lawyer, you would be saying, an Indian lawyer shouldn't be doing that. I'm a broadcaster. And it wasn't just an Indian person, it was like an Indian girl. So there was all these labels that were already being put on me, like an Indian girl does not, like a good Indian girl would not say those things on the radio. Do you guys agree with that? Do you think there should be labels put on us like that? No, right? It was really hard for me my first few years to battle that out and to let people know that I'm not an Indian girl who's a broadcaster. I'm a broadcaster who happens to be a woman, who happens to have South Asian descent, that I'm very proud of. And if anything, we should be proud that I do bring that up on the show and that I do embrace my heritage. And I hope that it makes other South Asian people and other ethnicities proud as well, because they know that they can do it as well. At the end of the day, I mean, I've been there where you've been, and I know I've had people come in and talk to me and say things, and then you think, yeah, well, you don't really know how hard it is. I do know how hard it is. I do remember how hard it is. I'm sure things are different and things have changed, but at the end of the day, I was a teenage girl once too. I was in grade 9, I was in high school, I was a minority. I got made fun of all the time for for something or another, but I didn't let it discourage who I am or where I want to be or where I want to go or who I one day wanted to be. I hope that you inside maybe feel slightly inspired by something I may have said to you today, and that if you have any questions, you'll feel comfortable enough to ask me, right? Can they just put up their hand and ask? Hi. How old was I? Oh, going into age. Whatever. I was 24 when I started, but I didn't start my career there. I started doing lots of volunteer work when I was at SFU on different multicultural shows and on multicultural channels. Did volunteer work, internships, I was that gopher like at VTV, which is now CTV. I was interning for, I guess the big heads, and I was their little runner who would go get their coffee, go get their laundry, go drop off their laundry, go pick up their lunches, things like that back in the day, and then slowly built my way up. Finally got an on-air gig when I was 24. Yes. Any other questions? Sorry? Oh, a feminist. This is an interesting one. I get asked that all the time on the show because they're like, oh, Nira, you're such a feminist. And it always comes across like now a little bit like with aggression when someone says it to you. And I don't think it has to be so aggressive. I'm not a radical feminist. I think I'm a very liberal feminist. But I think it's evolving. Like I really do believe that women and men should be equal. For sure. Like if there's something out there that men can do, women can do it too. And vice versa. If a woman's doing something, a man can do it too. A radical feminist is, let's make men pay for what happened in the past and the suppression of women. I'm not into that. But I still do believe that today it's really important for men and women, like boys and girls, to still have their energies. Like I think that's where a lot of the confusion is happening because a lot of women now are into their careers and CEOs of companies, and then they still are trying to come home and take care of the household, and then they still have their husband and they still have their kids, and it's a lot to do, and we sometimes lose our female energy, which is what we kind of need in relationships. So yes, I'm a feminist, but I still believe in carrying whatever my energy is. Like, inside everybody has a different energy. I just hope we don't lose our energies by trying to be everything that we're trying to be these days. Maybe that was really intense of an answer, but yeah. What was my parents' first reaction when I wanted to go into broadcasting? They thought I had lost my mind. Completely lost my mind. I grew up in Nanaimo, and when I was 18, I moved to Vancouver to go to Simon Fraser University, and I was supposed to be a lawyer. And so, okay, I was doing all my courses and all that. And then I started getting involved in lots of different clubs at SFU. One of them was the Culture Club, and putting together culture shows. And I then started emceeing some of the culture shows. I got into acting, and then from there I got involved in some of the multicultural shows on Rogers Multicultural at the time. I was into it. I really enjoyed it, and then I told my parents I wanted to switch my major from business administration to communications. I'm like, okay, what are you gonna do with that? I'm like, I don't know, maybe I wanna go into TV, maybe I wanna be a journalist or something. And they were like, yeah, okay, just get your degree. Like their answer to everything at that time was just get your degree and then we'll figure it out. So they honestly just thought that I would get my degree and then I would just, go back to wanting to be a lawyer. But I continued to then still say I wanted to be a broadcaster. And then I went to BCIT, and then I got an internship at VTV where I worked for free, pretty much 50 hours a week. So my parents were like, okay, wait a second. We came to this country with nothing, and we were still making $3.70 an hour. And now our daughter, who was born in Canada, went to university, is now gonna work for a company for free? Like they didn't understand the concept of any of it. They didn't really support my idea of where I wanted to go, what I wanted to be. Their other thing was, whoa, what do we tell people? Like, what are you? What do you mean, what am I? There was all those questions too. But I continued to trek on because my passion was there. That's one thing that I think is very important, to have a passion for something. If you have a passion, don't let it die out. You gotta follow your passion. So thank goodness I did. I followed my passion, and now they're very proud. They're super proud of what I have accomplished. So it worked out. But not the best reaction. Not at all. Any other questions? Yeah.
Please, a round of applause for Nira from 94.5 Virgin Radio. And we also just had a small thank you as a token of our appreciation from both LA Matheson and the BYOBF network.
Yes. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.